that the only way for a constituency to benefit is for its parliamentary representative to be in the cabinet, to have a seat at the table. And you are not wrong, because sometimes our cabinets do not understand that all constituencies matter in equal measure. Some may have wants greater than others. And precisely because there is something called equity, there must be absolute fairness in the treatment of all constituencies. And it is not because a particular representative sits at a cabinet, around a cabinet table, that the cabinet should be used as a mechanism to divert all resources, or the bulk of resources, to the constituency represented by that individual. But I say to you that this thinking is myopic, it is simplistic, and it is archaic. As I have always said, what happens when the membership of the House of Assembly is increased from 17 to 21 or to 25 or maybe 30 members? Do we make every parliamentarian a minister or parliamentary secretary? Just look at the United Kingdom. The Parliament of the United Kingdom has a membership of over 650 elected members. But they have a cabinet of some 30 to 40 members. Obviously, all of them cannot be a minister. That would be an absurd proposition. And we have to mature in our politics. We have to develop our country by creating the right precedents, the right conventions. No matter how disappointing you may be with politicians, you must never ever give up on what is right, what is proper, and what is in the interest of this country. Never do that. But more pointedly, I believe it would have been an unfair burden to our country to have had two former prime ministers in the cabinet along with its current prime minister, and the two former prime ministers would have been Stephenson King, myself, and the current prime minister, Philip J. Pierre. Why should we burden a country with that kind of membership simply because we were former prime ministers? As I said to you, I have always believed that I have an overriding responsibility to the St. Lucia Labour Party to encourage it to transition itself into the future. You know, I remember the night of the election in 2016. I was alone with two close friends. And when we lost that election, I felt a distress that I'd never experienced before. I knew what would have happened to this country based on what I'd heard on the platforms of the United Workers' Party. I knew then and there that I had to resign and announce my resignation as leader of the St. Lucia Labour Party. There are those who criticized me within my own party, who said I abandoned the St. Lucia Labour Party, forgetting that these are normal precedents that occur on election night. But there's something else. They forgot that the St. Lucia Labour Party that I had led between 1997 and 2016 had reformed itself, had become so entrenched that I had made this Labour Party into a formidable political organization, into an unmatched political organization, and further, that it was strong, resilient enough to cope with my resignation because there was a mechanism created inside the party to allow someone else to manage the transition that would flow from my resignation. I say this tonight because I want those who have criticized me for my decision that night to get this answer from me tonight. Because I know who you are. And I do not offer it with malice. I offer it because when I entered politics in 1997, one of the most famous statements that I made about the St. Lucia Labour Party was that it was the mother of all political parties in this country. That all political parties coming after the Labour Party fed from the breast of the St. Lucia Labour Party. All of them, including John Compton's in Adam, including John Compton's United Workers' Party, including even the PPP, all of them fed from the breast of the St. Lucia Labour Party. And what was inherited following 1997 was a political organization that was so strong that had changed and altered the politics of this country. And the reality is that fast forward to 2016, 17, 2021, the best way that I could have helped the government of the St. Lucia Labour Party was to allow Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre to govern in his image, in his style, on his own terms, freely and unhindered by my presence. It would have been unfair for Philip J. Pierre to have walked on eggshells just because I was around him casting my shadow. In short, I have never ever wanted to cast my shadow over the government of the St. Lucia Labour Party. I said earlier, I also have a responsibility to our country. Sometimes we have to set an example to say to the country that there is an alternative way to do things. And there are moments in Parliament when I have had to subtly say this to my colleagues and to my fellow parliamentarians, what I can tell you tonight is that I hope that my experience has been helpful and that all political parties, no matter their color and their hue, learn to handle their backbenchers far more constructively and respectfully than has been the case. There will be backbenchers in the future. But this speech tonight is not about my legacy. You see, my legacy is about you and it is about the country. How did I make a difference to this country since 1997? I just heard a cell phone, just heard it ringing, and I remember it was the government that I led that had the courage to terminate the license of cable and wireless, to pave the way for deregulation, so that today every solution walks in this country, sometimes with 2 cell phones. That's what legacy is about. How did you change a country? Tonight is not a farewell speech. That will come much later. Because when my farewell speech comes, it will be a speech of adulation and respect for you. Because what I ascribe to you tonight is not enough to thank you.